Here are 5 reasons that my husband and I decided not to have children. We are not against parents, by the way. Like, I truly believe you can have a fulfilled, wealthy, wholesome life. Like, you can have everything and have kids. We're not saying that. I look at my friends with kids and I'm like, you know, you're doing an incredible job. It's just not for us for the following reasons. Firstly, it is so expensive. Honestly, like, it's hard enough to afford normal life. How do you afford kids as well? Secondly, I have just never really been a kid person. I'm that awkward person that just doesn't know what to do with them. Like, I really dread people handing me their kids. I've never wanted them. I've never really had anything to do with them. My husband, on the other hand, he is the eldest of 4. He's got 3 other siblings, and he had to basically take care of them when they were younger. And because of that, he's like, I already did my time. I don't want to do it with my own children. Third reason is because I have a business and we're both very ambitious. And again, you can be ambitious and have kids. I'm not saying you can't, but my business is my baby. It takes up so much time, energy, stress. I just couldn't do that and have a kid. The fourth reason is I'm selfish. I am happy to admit that, but I would rather say I'm selfish and choose to not have kids because of it than have them and then still want to be selfish, you know? I want to take a nap whenever I want. I want to go out for dinner when I want and not have to worry. There is a bit of wax. There it is, got it. You know, and not have to organize a babysitter. My husband and I are both very much on the same page as that, and I'll openly admit I'm selfish. And the 5th reason, I just really like my peace and quiet. I am such an introverted homebody, and I just love literally sitting at home in the quiet, and kids aren't quiet. They're not. I'm really sorry, they're just not. Also, just going to throw in a 6th reason, because everyone in my TikTok comments is telling me I'm going to change my mind. Watch me not do it. I'm not going to do it purely because you said that to spite you. No, I'm just joking. But in saying that, like, please be mindful that it's a very personal choice, and each to their own, you know. Whatever everyone decides for their life, that's up to them. There's no reason to get frustrated with it or annoyed because you disagree. Just let people live their life, you know. Finishing up with a little reminder to, I hate when this is nearly empty. Why? Be kind, spread kindness in the world. Be open-minded, be understanding, and go out there and have a fabulous day. Also, I don't know how I just did my eyebrows while talking because I was very close to ripping a chunk out. I probably should not have done that, and I probably will not do that again, but whatever, we're here.
I found a thread on Reddit with a bunch of uncommon reasons people aren't having kids, so I'm gonna read you my favorites. I love spicy food. I can't imagine having to dumb down my cooking for years and years. It was hard enough getting my husband to a point where he could handle a spice level that wasn't bland to me, and a kid can't be expected to compromise on that. And the idea of making separate meals takes all the joy out of cooking for me. I don't like a cluttered floor due to being blind. If I had kids, my house would be a permanent mess no matter what I did about it. Just one reason among many. Another person has snakes, and they don't want kids near their snakes. Fair enough. This person says spite. I was on the fence about having kids, and then my mother-in-law treated my life goals as a punchline, so I decided to take away her life goals as well. All she wanted was to be a grandma. She was obsessed with it. It makes me smile thinking she never got to experience it after the cruel nicknames she threw my way. I like this one. This one says, my partner and I are both gamers with gaming PCs and a Switch. Our whole living room is set up in a child-unfriendly way with cables, etc. I don't want to give that up, nor share it with a sticky child. Hard relate. I rarely cook. I sometimes even eat once a day, so I can't imagine being forced to cook 3 meals a day plus snacks. I'm too lazy. Absolutely. Take your birth control. I'll see you tomorrow.
Here's another example on how our society just really seems to dislike child-free folks. Should child-free travelers be banned from going on holiday in the middle of summer? Article starts off by saying, many child-free couples choose the busiest and most expensive weeks of the year for their vacation, despite being free to travel at any time. First off, I would be very curious why that author seems to think that child-free folks are free to travel at any time. Just like people with children, we also have responsibilities and obligations. This may be hard for people like that to realize, but we have lives too. Secondly, for a lot of the most popular vacation spots, summer is just the nicest season to go. Like, I'm not gonna pay an exorbitant amount of money to spend a week at the beach when it's 23 degrees outside. And the things that really irked me was that there was definitely some dissent in the comments of the article, but there was a whole lot of support too. Child-free folks will bring up wanting one child-free flight out of 100,000, and we are instantly demonized for it. We are the worst, most selfish people on the planet. But an entire article like this can get written, and the most common response tends to be, that's a good point. Our lives don't revolve around your kid's school schedule.
Watch this video and then I'll be back.
By 2030, 45% of working women ages 25 to 45 will be non-married, no kids, single.
So what's wrong with that?
So you might say, well, what's wrong with that? If you think that you're going to genuinely be fulfilled in life because you made money, best of luck to you.
Okay, so he had one perspective. I'm going to give you another. And this one's coming from an actual woman who was single and child-free and fulfilled. When I was a little child in the 70s, my grandmother and her two sisters, all very well-educated women, especially for that time period, looked at me and said, never depend on a man. And I was like, I'm 5. But what they were trying to instill in me was that my independence was important. They knew that a good education, especially at that time, led to financial freedom. And when you have financial freedom, you make better decisions for your life. I was married for 22 years. We never shared a bank account and we never had joint credit cards. When I got my amicable divorce, my lawyer said it was one of the easiest that he had ever done. And I wasn't planning on getting divorced, but having financial independence definitely made it easier. And it helped me with the decision that it was time to leave. I never felt trapped. I knew that I had my own money, and I knew that I had 4 college degrees. Whoever comes into my life at this point is here because I want them here, not because I need them here. I have a fantastic and supportive boyfriend, and he's in my life because I want him in my life. He doesn't pay any of my bills. We don't live together. And I have no intentions of getting married. I have a fantastic and supportive family. I have a huge group of female friends. I have a job that I love. I have hobbies I adore. I feel valued, connected, and fulfilled. I don't have a husband, and I don't have children. If you want a husband and you want children, great, please do it. That will be fulfilling for you. I just don't want you to listen to some guy with a podcast saying that you will be a miserable old crone if you don't do these things. Only you know what's right for you, and that's what you have to follow. There are some of us here in our 50s and older who led the way for this, and we're telling you, it's a damn good life. This is a picture I have of my grandmother and her 2 sisters when I was 17.
So happy being single and being child-free. I feel like I wouldn't give up the love of my children for the world. It's not personal and I don't really know. Well, at the end of the day, you're gonna die alone, and who's gonna be there when you're old? And how are you gonna run up into my house and tell me I'm gonna die alone?
I love when men tell me this like it's some kind of threat when it actually sounds like quite the opportunity. But I understand why men say this, because for you guys, you do benefit from getting married. You do benefit from having kids. You tend to live longer. You tend to be taken care of by your wives. Your wives tend to baby you as if they are your mother. So I understand why you're saying that. It's also very clear from your profile that you're deeply insecure and cannot even show your face on the internet. So it makes sense why you would project that onto me. You probably feel super lonely. You probably feel super bad about yourself. So you constantly feel like you need to be in a relationship, especially with a woman, to validate you, because we tend to bring you guys up while you tend to bring us down. Let's read together, shall we? You take less risks, you earn more money at work, and you live a little longer. That's for men. She, on the other hand, has to put up with that and die sooner than if she had never married. The healthiest and happiest population subgroup are women who never married or had children. And this isn't the only study or article. You could just Google women who are single live longer, single women live longer, single women are happier, and you'll find many, many articles, many studies. But I'm not going to go through all of those with you because it's not my job to educate you, and I don't want to take care of you, precisely why I don't really want to marry a man. And for what it's worth, I actually would consider marrying a man, so long as that man acted nothing like you and men like you in general. And I promise you that women in general do not want a man who acts anything like you, especially a man who's coming on the internet to leave rude comments on a woman's profile simply because she wants a lifestyle that's different from yours. I also have another thing about men like you. I feel like men like you have something they haven't yet addressed that might be in a closet. Because when you guys come on the internet and leave comments like this and you act like you hate women, and you're clearly like leaving these comments because you want other men to read them and be like, oh yeah, I agree, and you want women to read them and be like, I'm so offended right now. it's like, okay, do you even like women in the first place? Because if you liked us, I just feel like you wouldn't act like this. And it might pain you to know that there are women like me who would never marry a man like you, and we also don't have a problem being single because I have dreams, I have goals, I have an education, I'm furthering my education, I have a career I love, I plan to take that very far, and I haven't actually gone after something I wanted and not gotten it. So, and I plan to do that for the rest of my life. And it also might pain you to know, just the cherry on top, that when I am with men, they treat me like royalty. And I feel like men like you, misogynistic men, can't conceptualize the fact that women like me who are single, when they do date, we have extremely high standards because we don't settle. And that's how we end up in very lovely relationships with men and people in general who actually care about us.
I found this story and I felt a visceral need to share it with you. The title is called When Being Child Free Gets You an Extra 40 Hours a Work Week. So here's the background. I work for a huge corporation and I'm a salaried employee. This is relevant later. My job is very project based and each employee works on their own project most of the time. Today, our department manager booked a team meeting to discuss upcoming changes. Cool, no problem. At this meeting, we're presented with a memo outlining the changes in hours to be worked for November, possibly longer, as follows. Mandatory 8 to 8 work days every day, including Saturdays and Sundays possible if deemed necessary, except for team members who have children. Their hours will remain 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. But the manager finishes up going over and asks, do you have any questions? So I'm like, yeah, I have a question.
In what world did you think that this would be okay?
She explains that due to the situation in the last few months, we've fallen behind in projects as team members have to take care of their kids and work at the same time. So we had to pick up the slack. Me again. Based on our status meeting yesterday, the team members without kids are all on track with their projects, with many of us consistently finishing days before our deadline. So you're telling me that those of us who don't have kids have to work an additional 40 hours a week to complete projects for team members who won't even be helping finish the said projects? She responds with, I'm struggling to understand why this is such a big issue for you. And I'm like, excuse me, what? I asked my fellow child-free team members if they're okay with this, and all of them are like, no. The ones with kids are completely silent, of course. So I tell her that it's absolutely insane that she thinks that this is even close to being okay. She just blinks at me. And then I ask her if she will also be working these hours with us. And of course, it's a no. She has a child, a freaking 18-year-old, mind you. I was ready to throw my laptop out the window at this point. She just goes ahead and ends the meeting. So I am fuming. I regroup with my fellow child-free team, and we agree that this isn't about to happen. I emailed the manager right away after to let her know that we'll be requesting a meeting with HR and legal department to discuss our employment contracts and hours we're forced to work, simply because we don't have kids. I know dang well that this is freaking insane and against all employment policies within the company. She proceeds to call me and tell me that there is no need to go to HR. We can resolve this internally. B, no, we can't. You diss me and didn't bother to listen to 12 other team members you plan to work to death without any sort of additional compensation. She then says, well, your salary, so there's no need for additional compensation. If only I had the ability to choke her through the phone, I collect myself and tell her in the most professional way I could muster that we can discuss this with HR and legal and I end the call. I proceed to book a meeting with my child-free team manager and HR legal for tomorrow. In the meantime, I'm downing a bottle of wine to calm myself. I might end up employed tomorrow, but I'm not letting this go. This is the hill that I will die on. End rant. You guys, what do y'all think of this story? This is absolutely ridiculous. Like, how can people try to get away with this? Because people who don't have kids, do you think we don't have lives? Do you think that we're not should be afforded special treatment just because someone else made the decision to have kids? Why would we have to do their work just because they made the choice to procreate with somebody else? That makes absolutely no sense to me at all. And there is an update to this. If y'all want me to tell you the story on that, I will upload it tomorrow. I haven't made it yet. Let me know and I will do a part 2. And let me know what y'all thoughts are in the comments. This is part 2 of When Your Work Punishes You for Being Child Free. Watch part 1 for reference. So the meeting took place first thing this morning with the manager, the head of the HR, another HR manager, and 2 labor attorney generals from the legal department and the head of my department. Legal invited them on the fly this morning, and 13 child-free co-workers that are with me. Started the meeting by explaining why we're gathered here today. The head of the department was dumbfounded. He clearly had no idea what the manager tried to pull off. Legal went through all the rules of the discussion, so we had to wait to speak. I was first to make my case, and my approach was simple. Show proof. Show policy, explain why the policy was violated and therefore can't be enforced. Boring? Yeah, I know. But if that didn't work, I had other points on reserve to bring up. Side note later. So I really wanted to go all out and lose my filter and say what I was really thinking, but as we know, that would get me nowhere. So I presented the manager's memo and company overtime policy, which clearly states that the mandatory overtime must be 1, mandatory for all members of the department, hourly and salaried, and 2, members must work equal number of OT hours, and 3, must be approved by the head of the department. If any of these conditions are not met, managers can't impose it and should ask volunteers to work OT instead. My argument was simple. Manager didn't follow the policy and purposely targeted child-free people. The highlights of the sheet show are followed. Legal asked the head of the department if he approved the memo. The answer was angry no. I could tell he was livid at the manager, so in my head, I'm laughing my A off, right? Legal asked the manager for her side of the story, and the answer was, I wasn't aware of this policy. So I interjected with, I find that hard to believe when 3 weeks ago we did an extensive review with that policy being the main objective, and you were heavily involved with each step. The head of HR chimes in with, I can attest to that. I worked with the manager on this project, so let's be truthful, please. So in my head, I'm screaming, yeah, take that, B! So the manager's like, I didn't think the policy would apply in this case. Y'all, it took all of my willpower not to cuss her out. All of a sudden, her memory came back and now she's aware of the policy. So the legal stepped in with, are you saying that you, the manager responsible for enforcing policies, honestly thought that those policies don't apply to you? Oh, yes! So the head of the department stepped in with, to the manager is still angry AF. You were blatantly wrong here. There's no need to try and justify it. So the round one is won, right? Next were some of the child-free who shared emails between them and her showing your standard crappy manager behaviors and lack of accountability. So she just kept repeating, that's not why we're here today. It didn't stop them from going on though. This was very enjoyable to watch. Then one of the other child-free asked to speak, and let me tell you, this guy showed up with the receipts. He spent the entire night creating an analyst for freaking pie chart and all to illustrate how many projects were done by the 13 child-free as compared to the 19 non-child-free, and how much time was put in by us versus how much vacation and sick time was approved for us versus them for last year. So I was shook. His analysis showed that 13 of us did close to 16% of all the work, while the 19 of them did only 40-ish. And don't even get me started on the rest of the stats. This guy wiped the floor with the manager, and I truly hopes that he gets a raise because he is my hero. You know what her response was? This company promotes work-life balance and wants families to have to spend time with each other, so it's normal that employees with kids get time to do just that. I couldn't hold myself back. This is me. Yes, you're absolutely right that the company does that, but you're lacking here is the understanding that family includes other people, not just children. In case you were unaware, all of us have families too. So HR interjected with, I believe we have enough information here. The child frees, myself included, were asked to leave the meeting so that they can deliberate. We were told that they will circle back with us later in the afternoon. So later comes around and we're invited to a meeting, and this time it's all the same people, but the no manager. So the head of the department apologized that this ever happened and thanked us for doing the right thing and bringing it to their attention. They threw in a few company lines about equal treatment, yada, 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 and told us we'll be taking over the managerial duties for the time being. Legal added that the memo is null and void and made clear that we will not be working those insane hours. In case you're wondering, the manager was offline for the rest. We don't know what happened, but who cares? Because we won! Woohoo! Yes, I knew that stuff was illegal anyways, you guys, end of the story. So what do y'all think about that? I feel like that was a great outcome, and that manager knew she was dead wrong for doing what she did. Anyway, I'm so glad that the outcome was in the favor of the child free, because that was absolutely unfair of her to do that, to put all this responsibility on them because they don't have kids, but act like we don't have families. We have families, we have friends, we have lives. Just because we don't have children doesn't mean we're not busy and we can't do some of the things. So I am so excited for that whole situation and the outcome, and that how the managers and all of them came through the hatred department. So it was good for them, you guys. Solid win.
Okay, child-free folks, hear me out. It's back to school season, right? And that means that the average family is spending like $800, maybe up to $1,400 on back to school supplies. So if you're child-free or you're a dink, doesn't that mean we get to spend that money just on anything right now? Like, if you had a kid, you'd have to spend that money. So logically, the math is mathing that we should just spend that money. If you were thinking about making a big purchase and on the fence, I think legally just do it.